back to this Tuesday edition of Focal Point AF are Talking. Again, my apologies for the mix-up on the prayer. Printed out the wrong prayer. I write these prayers based on the words of the passage that we are reading together and just glitched up. Now, by the way, if you would like to get these prayers, they're on a specially developed website at AFA. It's afa.net/pray. Go to afa.net/pray. Bookmark that page, and there will be a fresh passage in Scripture and a fresh prayer for every day. I also tweet out the link to that, and I post the prayer on our Facebook page, the Focal Point Facebook page, and all that was done today just glitched up when I came across the street. So it's a reminder, go to our Facebook page. Focal Point is the name of the Facebook page, and like that page and encourage your friends to like the Focal Point page as well. Now, I've got a column up at rightlyconcerned.com, and I want to begin this segment by talking a little bit about this. We've covered it over the last number of weeks here and there, and I wanted to kind of crystallize some of my thinking for you on this topic, and it has to do with this weird business where big business is out there pushing hard for amnesty, and the Republican leadership is caving. Now, it's interesting. I just found this out this morning. Bob Goodlatte, a congressman from the state of Virginia, he is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. All immigration bills have to go through his committee. So he's a central player in whether we're going to get amnesty, which I think is a perfectly terrible idea, or whether we're going to have the rule of law and border security. That's the choice. It's border security and the rule of law, or it's amnesty. You can't have both. It's one or the other. So Goodlatte had on the House Judiciary page website a strong statement that we're opposed to amnesty. No amnesty, not going to do amnesty, we're against amnesty. And then Friday, that got scrubbed. It had been on there, I don't know, for several years, and it was scrubbed from the website on Friday, taken down. And in its place was this kind of meaningless message about how we can all agree that our immigration system is broken and needs to be reformed. Well, apparently there was enough hue and cry from the base that Goodlatte put that prohibition or that stance against amnesty is now back up on the website. So now on the House Judiciary page, it's managed by Bob Goodlatte. Maybe it's his website or maybe it's the Judiciary Committee's website. But regardless, he's put that statement defining that he and the Republican Party are opposed to amnesty. Now, we know, and the reason that the Republican Party is running scared here is that the Chamber of Commerce is going to spend $50 million to fight Tea Party candidates in the Republican primaries. And big business is clamoring for amnesty. They want this nation flooded with cheap labor because they can't find Americans to hire for minimum wage to do their job, so they want all this illegal alien labor to come in the country. They want them legalized so they can employ them without any fear of legal repercussions and pay them. So big business now is ramping up for amnesty. Ladies and gentlemen, our enemy in this amnesty battle is big business, and it's the leadership of the Republican Party. It's the GOP elites, and it's big business, the heavy wallets, and the guys that have the power in D.C., those are the guys that we're going to be up against in derailing this rush to amnesty. So the question that I raise in this column is, why do we have this problem? Why is the Chamber of Commerce going to spend $50 million to defeat Republican candidates, Tea Party candidates in the primary? Well, because they know that Tea Party candidates are opposed to amnesty. People in the Tea Party, they want a secure border. They want our immigration laws enforced. They believe that we have perfectly good immigration laws, just nobody is enforcing them. So that's what the Tea Party is for, and these Tea Party-backed candidates, they too are going to be for no amnesty. They're going to be for E-Verify for jobs. They're going to be for border security first. In fact, that's the only reform I think we need is just border security, period. Let's get a double-layer security fence all the way along the southern border with Mexico, and we can do it. Don't let anybody tell you we can't. We built the Empire State Building in 17 months in the middle of the recession. We built the Golden Gate Bridge in the recession. We built the Oakland Bay Bridge in the recession. We can build a fence if we've got the mind to do it. So don't let anybody lie to you about that and say that it is impossible. It can be done. But so then the question is, why is big business pushing for amnesty? Why does big business want all these 12 to 20 illegal aliens in the country right now, these criminal aliens, these criminal trespassers? Why does big business want them legalized immediately? And why do they want the borders of our nation open to be flooded with aliens from all over the world? Well, there is one reason for that, and that is the word welfare. That's the reason that big business wants amnesty. It's because of welfare. And this is a perfect example of what happens. Welfare started out as I'm sure they had good intentions. I mean, I don't have any question their intentions were good. They wanted to help people that were downtrodden. That's fine. We all want to do that. That's not the issue. Everybody's got the same heart. We want to help people that are downtrodden and are in unfortunate circumstances. We want to see things get better for them. We all do that. So the question is not one of motive or intention or heart. It's of strategy. It's pragmatically, does this thing work? And when government launches a bad solution to a pressing problem, and the welfare program, the war on poverty, is a bad solution to a pressing problem, then it creates additional problems. And then when government tries to fix the problem that it created by its badly designed government program, then it creates another problem. And that's what we're about ready to have happen. Welfare has created a problem in the American economy. And that is simply, as we've talked about this before, a lot of Americans can make more money sitting at home playing Xbox by drawing on welfare than they can by going to work for minimum wage. And I've mentioned this before, but it's an important Fisher factoid. You can make more money on welfare than you can by working at a minimum wage job in 35 states. So the average American worker, he's thinking rationally, and I fault him for it. This is a weakness of character, but it's perfectly rational that they would say, hey, if I can make more money sitting on my can at home, why in the world do I want to go out and work for minimum wage? And so these big business guys, they can't find American employees that are willing to work for minimum wage because they have no incentive to do it. They've got no financial incentive to go out and get a job because welfare is so high now that it makes it possible for them to simply refuse to look for a job, or they become very, very selective about the jobs that they will take. They're only going to want to take a job that's going to pay them significantly more than they can make on welfare. Otherwise, there's not enough of an added benefit for the inconvenience. That's why I think if we're going to fix our economy, if we're going to be able to deal with this amnesty and immigration problem, we have got to dismantle the welfare state. And I'm not saying we do it all at once. It needs to be done sort of gradually. We need to get on a glide path to get that thing completely dismantled, get it pulled apart, return all of that money to the taxpayers, and encourage them to support the charity of their choice. We're not going to abandon these people. We're going to say, look, to the American people, we're going to return all of this money. We've been sucking it out of your wallets at the point of a gun. So you're not involved in this at all. You have no decisions. There's no charity on your part. There's no compassion. There's no generosity because we're basically robbing you at gunpoint. We're taking the money out of your wallet. Then we're sending it to these bureaucrats in D.C. They siphon off a big chunk. And then they send what's left over out to people you've never met. You don't know anything about them. And obviously, and often that money is very, very poorly managed, tremendous amount of waste and fraud in all of that deal. And we've talked about plenty of examples of that. So we're going to have to dismantle the welfare state, get that money back in the hands of ordinary Americans and encourage them to support the charity of their choice. Because the problem is there are no jobs that Americans will not do, but there are jobs that Americans on welfare will not do. And that's where the problem is. And we've talked about this before, but you look at the average American who's considered poor by government standards, the average poor American, the average American who is officially listed as in poverty, has a vehicle or two, got a big screen TV, it's got air conditioning, it's got a refrigerator, has a microwave, has cable or satellite, has a computer, has internet access, and has more living space than middle-income Europeans. In other words, what's the primary health problem of the poor in America? It's not hunger, it's obesity. I mean, this is the first generation in the history of the world where the number one health condition of poor people is they have too much to eat. It's obesity is the problem and not hunger. So what that tells us is by any measurable standard, the poor in America are not poor at all. Our poor people are the envy of the world. More assets, more resources than the poor in any other country in the world. So I would suggest you look, the war, we just celebrated or commemorated the 50th anniversary of the war on poverty. Been fighting it for 50 years. We spent $20 trillion on it. And the meme out there is that we haven't defeated poverty, that poverty won. And I would say the exact opposite is true. The poverty lost. We have defeated poverty. The war on poverty is over. Poverty has lost, and therefore it's time to dismantle the war machine. And when I say the poverty is lost, I mean the average poor American got a vehicle, big screen TV, cable, satellite, got a computer, internet access, air conditioning, refrigeration, all that stuff. They've got it. So poverty has been defeated. And I think part of what we're doing is sapping the American character through this very generous welfare program. Remember, the book of Proverbs says this: a laborer's appetite works for him because his hunger drives him on. You know, I go to work every day. I mean, a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons I go to work, and I'd go to work for this reason if for no other. I mean, I love my job, favorite job I've ever had. I would go to work even if I didn't love my job because I want to eat. And I don't want to go on welfare. I don't want to take handouts from the government. And I have people that are depending upon me. I've got a wife that depends on me. When I was younger, I had children that were depending upon me. I had a mother-in-law who lived with us for 20 years who was depending on me. And I wanted them to eat. I wanted them to have a roof over their head. I wanted them to have clothing. I wanted them to have a nutritional diet and all that stuff. So I went to work. A laborer's appetite works for him because his hunger drives him on. So what will happen if we dismantle the welfare state? We'd have to get rid of the minimum wage law at the same time. We have 92 million people in America, 92 million Americans that are employable age but aren't working. They're out of the workforce altogether. We have 100 million people that are on welfare of one kind or another. This is obviously an unsustainable thing. So if we dismantle the welfare state, we get rid of the minimum wage laws, so somebody that can only give $6 an hour worth of labor to an employer can get a job. If minimum wage is $7.25 and all a low-skill worker can offer is $6 worth of benefit to that employer, he's not going to get a job. So get rid of minimum wage, dismantle the welfare state, turn it back over to compassionate Americans, and things will get better in a big hurry. And we won't have to worry about all this amnesty because Americans will be employed. Focal Point, AFR Talk.